So I want to share a little secret with you. I actually faked being a calm parent for a really long time, and it just masked everything. I wasn't actually showing up as the parent that I wanted to be, and I knew that this wasn't going to probably work forever, but I kind of thought of the saying like fake it till you make it. Like I if I faked it enough, maybe I would be able to I'd be able to just do it and it would just come naturally. And, maybe practice makes perfect. And the truth is, that is not true. And so, in today's video, I want to give you guys 7 of the things that I would go back and start doing to actually become a calm parent. So, to give you a little bit of context, I have always been interested in gentle parenting and respectful parenting, peaceful parenting, calm parenting, slow parenting, all those kinds of parenting styles. And what really intrigued me was how parents could show up with such calm even when their child was absolutely raging and upset and losing their mind. And it shocked me that they could just show up in with joy and with peace and calm and still be firm and correct their child. And I always wanted to do that. And I remember at the peak of my faking it, I was consumed with anger. I actually just did a workshop on letting go of anger. If you're interested in that, you can check out the description. The link is below. But I really, really, really had so much anger in my body. And I didn't know what to do with it because I was just suppressing and suppressing and suppressing everything that I was feeling. And I think that most parents who choose to parent their child, and whether it's gentle parenting or respectful parenting or peaceful parenting or calm parenting or whatever it is, they struggle with the feelings that now are internalized. And for other parents, they are under the belief that they need to look strong and they need to look capable and like they are somebody their child can trust so they don't show any emotion. And then these emotions just get stuck in our body. And so I think that is the number one thing that held me back from being a calm parent, like a truly calm parent. I'm not talking about I look calm on the outside, but my inside's really frustrated. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about truly calm, truly showing up for our child with peace. And it's not easy to do. It's really difficult. So I think let's get into the 6 or the 7 things that I've done, and I'm gonna explain each of them a little bit. But I think that if I could boil a calm parent and what they do down to one thing, has nothing to do with their child, has nothing to do with really anything else, their spouse, their situation. It has everything to do with themselves and how they are experiencing the world, how they're experiencing their past experiences and their child now, and all of it. And so it's really the perspective of the parent. So, the first thing that I did to become a calm parent was to adjust my expectations. I actually did an entire podcast episode on expectations, which I will link here or here. I always forget which side. I need to figure that out, you guys. If you've been watching for some time, you probably laugh every time. But I did an entire video on expectations because I think as a parent, that's what we struggle with the most, is like having these expectations for our child or for ourselves, which is really what I talk about in that video. But in most cases, we actually have expectations for our children, and we need to like really lower that because they're not realistic. And I actually am currently reading a book called oh gosh, I'm not gonna remember the author now, but I can remember the title. It's How the Eskimos Keep Their Babies Warm. I think that's what it is. Now I'm getting less sure, but I will link that below, the book. But I love how they really show each culture. This book goes through very many cultures in the world and how they do parenting in different ways, things from sleep to potty training. And the one thing that struck me about every country that they talked about was that children were not expected what children here in the US are expected. And for me, a lot of that revolved around sleep. I had this expectation that my daughters should be sleeping through the night by 6 months old on their own, in their crib, on their back. If you are a parent in the US, you are probably totally relating with me and saying, yes. And that pressure, especially for your first one, is there because you feel like you need to follow the rules and do the right thing. And we lose out on our intuition, which is another podcast episode, which I'll link. And it's like, how do we get these things back? And so much of this is adjusting those expectations and understanding that at 6 months old, baby is not supposed to be sleeping through the night. They're supposed to be nursing multiple times a night. And on top of that, they really don't want to sleep on their own because they weren't created to sleep on their own. And that is okay. It is okay for that to be a reality. So obviously I can't get into too much detail here. I would love to, but it's like, adjusting those expectations for yourself and for your child is going to help tremendously, because then there's not fear, right? There's not fear behind what you're showing up with. When your child is having a meltdown and they're 4 years old, you're like, yep, developmentally appropriate. We are 4 years old and throwing temper tantrums. Cool. Let's help you through it. There's not this, what are you doing? There's no fear because we're not fearful of who they are going to become, right? Like, we are just trusting and knowing that this is just normal. Especially if you're a first-time parent, especially the first kid, we tend to see a lot more fears and anxieties come up around those kids, which can really hold us back from showing up with calm and peace as a parent. So the second thing that I learned to do was regulate my nervous system. And this is a loaded topic here. And I could spend what I feel like is hours talking about this. I did do a video about emotional regulation, which I will link. But I think that nervous system regulation is key. And I was so stuck in fight or flight my entire life. I didn't have the tools. I didn't know the resources to calm my body down. A few things that were really helpful for me were somatic exercises. I actually just started doing those like probably 3 months ago. I don't even do them consistently, but they have allowed so much of those traumas just to release, and it's been huge. So if you're not sure where to start, that's someplace I would start. But there are so many tools. You can type them into Google and see different ways to be able to regulate your nervous system. And it's kind of like a muscle. The more that you do it, the stronger that'll be and the less triggered you become when your child is having a huge moment. And then you are able to show up with that calm that you are really hoping to have. Number 3 is I started prioritizing me. And this was really difficult. It felt really selfish, but I think something that is not a thing here, again, I'm talking about the US, is to put ourselves first as a mother. It's always this kind of this badge of honor that we do for everybody else. We are selfless. We are, and for me, selfless means putting in time for myself. That means filling my cup up, because if I have an empty cup, I cannot pour into anybody else's cup. And I know that analogy has been probably used 1,000 times before, but there's something about hearing it in the context of parenting that reminds us that we cannot keep showing up and expect ourselves to show up with calm when we have no reserve. We have nothing for ourselves. So now you may be thinking like, okay, what does prioritizing myself mean? It doesn't have to be anything big. I did a video on how I got myself back on track after I had a really, really rough week. And you can watch that video. I'll link it here. But one thing that I do is a couple things. One, I do an entire day that is all about me, even though I'm a stay-at-home mom. And the kids watch extra screen time, they get extra snacks, anything to keep them quiet, essentially. And it's just one day, but it gives me time to refuel. I read books, I drink my coffee, I put my phone away, do those kinds of things to refuel. The other thing is really prioritizing rest. Us women need rest. We cannot keep going. A man is actually built for stress, and a woman is not. And so to be in our, I'm going to throw something at you guys here, but in our feminine energy, to be a mother, we really need to step back and rest and know that we cannot go at the speeds that we are expected to go at. And so this might mean you don't have 80 things on your to-do list today. You just have 3. I did a YouTube live recently where I talked about how slowness impacts us as a parent. And as I was really going through that video and talking, I found myself remembering how pivotal it was for me to realize that slowing down was creating more space for me to show up as a parent I was really proud of. It gave me more space to allow for the tantrums to happen and to not rush my child through them, to be able to be compassionate and understanding because I had the space and I had the time. And that is what we are truly meant for. So this might mean, kind of repositioning your schedule, but I want you to know, I'm not saying here, I'm not even really calling this self-care, because self-care is part of it, but I'm not talking about going and getting your nails done or, spending an evening out with your girlfriends. That's awesome if you can do that, but I'm talking about the little things, even just a micro moment of saying this moment is for me. I've talked about this in past episodes where it's like I will hold my coffee cup like this and I will just enjoy the 10 seconds of me time. And it's not really me time because my kids are right here, but it's a moment where I close my eyes and I'm just like, this moment is for me. And I just allow myself to breathe. I allow myself to be there. I allow my body to kind of calm down. So anyway, that is, I think, huge in helping yourself to show up with calm. Okay, number 4 is to slow down. I already touched on this, but I think that we as women really do crave slowness. And when our nervous system is all out of whack, we can't be slow because it's like we're constantly in fight or flight and we're just like, hey, I need to keep fighting, and it's like, but I don't want to fight. I just want to be. I just want to settle. I just want to rest. And so allowing for more slowness in your life. I had mentioned the slowness video that I linked earlier. I will link it again here. But this video will kind of introduce you to how to start slowing down, how to think about slowing down, and really why it is so important for us as parents to be able to show up with compassion and empathy and calm. Number 5 is decluttering your life. Notice I didn't say minimalism here. I really wanted to talk about minimalism because it has definitely helped me in my journey to becoming more calm, but I do not consider myself a minimalist. I'm not a minimalist by any means. I don't think it's possible with kids, but I think that so many of the principles that minimalism is built on is really helpful and impactful for parents. I'm not sure if it's aired by time this video has aired, but I do have an episode all about minimalism and how we can utilize that as a parent. And I think it's important to remember that I'm not just talking about stuff here. Decluttering might mean like decluttering your phone, anything that brings your head like chaos. Like your head feels like, oh my gosh, it's going to explode. Like whatever that may be. Maybe it's like listening to videos that are informational. For me, there are periods of my life that I can do that. And then there are other time periods where I cannot. I don't have the capacity, and that is okay. So I need to declutter that. I need to get that out of my life until there is more space. And as you begin to regulate your nervous system, you will begin to have more space for the things that are important to you. And you also will start to solidify what's actually important to you, because you're starting to be aware of it. You're starting to notice, does this thing actually bring me joy? Is this actually helping me to be a better parent? Do I have the ability to take care of this item, or to take care of, whatever it may be? Even things such as extracurricular activities, Is it important to have your child in 4 different activities, or would it be more beneficial with your busy schedule to do one activity and have family nights, or nights where, you go to church and you fellowship with other people? Like, really solidifying and figuring out what is important to your family. And I think that also could have been the title of this, but kind of decluttering and breaking down the bare bones of your life to really give yourself the space to show up with calm. Number 6 is to focus on nutrition. I am not a nutrition expert by any means, but for the last 3 years, I have deep dived into the pro-metabolic space. If you've heard of this, you know that this has everything to do with the nervous system and teaching our bodies about safety and eating real whole foods. I say it's very similar to an ancestral diet. So if you're familiar with that, you would, it's very similar. But I want to ensure, like, when I'm thinking of nutrition for myself to help myself stay calm, I'm thinking minerals, I'm thinking eating consistently, I'm thinking whole foods. I'm thinking about really focusing on things that are going to nourish my body, cutting out, oils that are icky for you, and focusing on the foods that God created, not that man created. And this does not mean you have to go make sourdough bread. Not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that focus on making sure you are nourished and full, so that way you're not lashing out at your kids because you're a little hangry. Let's be honest. It happens. It happens to me. Even though I'm being intentional, it can happen like that, because I had to, take one kid to the bathroom, and then I forgot to eat my snack, and now it's lunchtime and I haven't eaten in 3 hours. Yeah. So I think that focusing on nutrition, figuring out what works for you, what works for your body, maybe different supplements. For me, I see a huge difference when I'm taking beef liver. I find myself to be a much happier person. I also have a tea that I love to drink. So I just like to ensure that I'm giving myself the nutrition, the safety that my body's needing to be able to show up with calm. And the very last thing that I did to find calm was to do inner work. And I'm not necessarily saying that you have to go to counseling or therapy or whatever, but I have been going to therapy for 9 years, so I love it. I think that it's awesome. I would recommend anybody who's interested in that going and doing that. But I think the inner work here is really like going deep with inside yourself and figuring out who you are in your core. And I think you'll start to realize that you really are calm. You really are this empathetic and patient person. I think most of us are. I just think that we kind of get, we kind of get the outside world coming in at us. And we have all these fears and these anxieties and this chaos. And it's just like, whoa, let's just calm down. Let's just give myself the space I need. And so if you're not sure where to start with inner work, I do offer parent coaching. And this is where I kind of help you to make sense of your story. I help to give you the tools, the resources, the knowledge that you need. I kind of walk alongside of you to figure out what you want as a parent, how you want to show up as a parent. I'm not going to tell you how to parent your kids. That is for you to decide. But I'm going to help you to figure out what you want, what your values are, and how to show up through that. lens. And so if this sounds like something that's interesting to you, I am currently accepting applications. You can comment below if you're not sure where to find that, but there's also a link in the description. And I think this is so helpful. For me, it was incredibly helpful when I went through coaching. It was hard because I give the analogy of a snow globe. It's like I'm inside the snow globe looking at my life, and a coach is looking from the outside in, and they can kind of see things playing out, and they can kind of, put the points together for you and help you to see like, oh, yeah, I'm feeling angry because when I was a child, this happened, and, now my child's doing that thing and it's making me angry, and so we kind of help to put all the points together and just to really help you understand your story, and that through the lens of parenting. So with that being said, I hope that these tips were helpful. I hope that they encouraged you to know that you can calm down, that you can be a calm parent, and that there's hope, that you don't have to be stuck in this go, angry parent, frustrated. You get to show up with calm. You get to show up with peace. And it's work. It's a journey. It's not just an overnight thing, but there are tools, and there are so many resources out there for you to start changing your life. It's just one step at a time. And the first step is being here, because you've just acknowledged that you're ready. You're ready to become a calm parent. Alrighty, I hope this video is helpful. As always, if you have any questions, make sure that you comment them below. And yeah, alrighty guys, happy parenting.